very special guests this evening, Captain Tractor!
Why are we doing this? We have decided to re-release our 1995 record, East of Edson, and sort of put out something that's still true to what the original record was, but maybe something that's like updated a bit that people are going to enjoy now.
It turned 25 during COVID, so we weren't able to do anything about it because there was no point in doing anything about it. So now, as the band is 30, we're going to re-release East of Edson.
Recording in the studio is trying to capture the energy of your live show, and I think we've done that with East of Edson. Like, we really worked hard on that. Keeping the energy up in the studio and stuff. I mean, it's a lot different. It's a lot different than we are live, but I think this one is coming pretty close to our live show.
Okay, so I'll ask you
This is the worst.
system and
My name is Jules Mounteer. I met Scott in 1981. I knew those guys, and they said, hey, this band named the Thieves, they need a drummer, because their drummer, Andy, he moved or something. And I said, sure, and so anyway, that's how I met Scott and Shane, his brother, and I joined the band called the Thieves, and we did that. And then along the way, Scott went to theater school at Grant MacEwan, and he met Chris. And then the three of us ended up in a band formed called The Brave and Foolish.
We were kind of a serious rock band, you know, we really wanted to take ourselves seriously. There was a publicist that moved to town, James Morrissey, and he was going out with this actress, Leona Browson. And so he started this group called Leona Browson's Boyfriend. And I remember seeing them play at the Multi-Purpose Rumpus Room once, and Scott got up and played as Leona Browson's Boyfriend, and people loved it. It was something about that, and I was like, I want to be in this band. Luckily for me, the mandate of Leona Browson's Boyfriend was that at every gig they would add a new member and learn a new song. So I got to join the band. It was kind of like, it was just for fun, and The Brave and Foolish was still really serious. And I think, like, you know, we just noticed how much more popular Leona Browson's Boyfriend was.
We were like doing Irish ditties and stuff at the sidetrack, and it became so popular that we decided that we wanted to take it to the next level. And James couldn't, and so Chris and I did that, and that is how Captain Tractor was formed.
The show today, we have a local band that music industry people are talking about all across Canada. They've toured in the States as well and doing very, very well for themselves, and they're with us this morning to do a song from their latest CD. This is what it looks like. It's called Talk. Here's Captain Tractor.
Inconsequential things about how life gets in the way of every little thing. I think I need a coffee.
Back in the day, before I joined Captain Tractor, I was in a band called Fukaman, and we were kind of like the ugly cousin compared to them. We could never get our shit together like Tractor did. So throughout the 90s, we'd watch Tractor on this amazing ascent, and we could barely stitch together 2 gigs and would always run out of weed. They were always, we'd see them at gigs and stuff and run into each other. They were always very kind. I really wanted to hate them, but I couldn't.
We definitely, for a band that wasn't particularly serious on stage, we took the business of it pretty serious. Like you said, we would literally phone people at their homes and pray that they wouldn't answer. Pray that we'd get the answering machine. Like, come on, don't answer. Okay, good. And leave a message for them. As far as I know, we were one of the first independent bands anyway to have a website of any sort. And honestly, that had nothing to do with the band. That was one of our fan friends, and she was like, "Yeah, you know what? You guys should have a website." And we're like, well, "Okay, sure." And she put it all together, and we're like, "All right, we've got a website. Very cool." And it was like that total GeoCity style with like background, everything was flashing, and it was super cool for those days. I guess we were cutting edge. I wasn't aware of anybody else doing that, but I certainly wouldn't claim to have been the first to do it, but first that we knew of anyway.
Honestly, it was a lot of hard work, and I mean it's easy to say, but I recall postering with Chris. It would be like -30, and he and I would be walking up and down White Avenue with 300 posters. And there'd be a guy tearing them down behind us, and we go the next day and do it again. It's like we were pretty relentless with that, and we had a very strong work ethic, really DIY, let the world be damned, kind of damn the torpedoes sort of thing. We're just going to do our thing and do it.
I do remember collecting people's email addresses and phone numbers at our merch table. We had a newsletter that Scott wrote most of it, and we printed it and mailed it out, and it was called the Captain's Log. And it had a glossary of terms, and it had sort of an Ann Lander section, and it had whatever, and it had cut out the piece if you want to support us on our record, and mail it back to us. Crowdfunding sourcing at its very earliest.
And it's a high, coming down the plains, stealing wheat and barley and all the other grains. And it's a high, farmers by your doors when you see the jolly roger on Regina's mighty shores.
They just showed us how good and how tight you could get on stage if you had the opportunity to play that much. And I remember it was halfway through our first tour over there that something just popped with the band, and it was just that thing of being on stage every night, even if you had to drive 15 hours between shows. Then all of a sudden, bang, and I was going, oh, that's how those guys do it. They just play a lot.
Well, my history with Captain Tractor came starting with the album Land. I was working at Wolf Willow Studios at the time with Ian Armstrong, and they came to us and wanted to do an album, actually wanted to do a double album in the early 90s, and fortunately convinced them, I didn't, Ian convinced them that they should just do one good album instead of two not so good albums. So I was involved with recording Land and mixing it and whatnot. And then shortly after that, they approached me about doing live sound. It would have been summer of '95, so I would have been 24 at the time. And one day we jumped in the bus and drove all the way to Ottawa. And as we got there, they're like, okay, we're gonna do sound check. And I went, we don't get to sleep first? And that was my introduction to the road.
Being on the bus, I'm going to the little triangle. The camera lens.
For 3 hours, waiting for the guitar player to fix his fucking sound.
It's like as soon as I started saying, well, I got you $3,500. And they went, what? Holy fuck, that's great money. Because they weren't used to that kind of money. And it was sort of exciting, and that was a fun thing for me as an agent trying to take a young, I want to say original act, with some traditional aspects of the band, but getting their money up, so they weren't playing for like top 40 money. They're playing for real money.
We were literally playing music to get free beer. That's the cliche, everyone says that or whatever. But we really were, because we actually had other things going on. Chris and I were in theater and doing theater at the time as a job. And so the Captain Tractor thing was just so that we could drink for free. And this was pre-Great Big Sea, or about the same time. Great Big Sea was coming up in the East as us and Spirit of the West were in the West. And so we were kind of part of that Celtic wave, that Celtic rock wave.
A lot of young people were more brave to be an independent artist instead of depending on the big labels and all that machine that went with it. And it was people, they wanted to be like Captain Tractor. And I think that they just, with Captain Tractor showing up and doing that, you get the feeling that all things are possible. If they could go on tour across Canada, go to New Zealand, and later on to Europe, then we could do it too.
What about record company interest? Ooh, those are three pretty heavy words.
We don't really care that much about it. I mean, really, honest to God, right now we're not really looking. We don't really care. We're doing it ourselves, and we actually make more money doing it ourselves. And as long as we can continue to do it ourselves, there's no real reason at this point for a record company. It's not like we won't turn down offers. We'll look at them, but it would definitely have to be the right one with the right little perks in it and stuff. I never expected that we'd get this far doing it by ourselves, but we have, and we've been able to pull it off. So
yeah, east of Edson, it was kind of larky. You know, the name of the title of the record, I remember, put a smile on my face, because I mean, who the fuck knows where Edson is? Really, I mean, unless you live in Alberta, really nobody knows where Edson, Alberta is. So it put a smile on my face, and that was kind of what Captain Tractor did to everybody, was put a smile on their face.
It was a successful record for us. We put it out ourselves. We built a distribution system for this record. We didn't do it, but we had people out of our office that did it. 30 years later now, the tapes were in the provincial archives, so we thought it would be cool to digitize them and remix the record and maybe add in some tracks for, with some of the people that have been playing with our band more recently.
So East of Edson was just before I joined, but I can tell you a few things about it. I know that Colin Lay, who helped kind of produce and record the record, who I studied under at MacEwan, he always just thought it was a fun time and that they had fun. But when we go back to the tracks, I think there's things that, when you think about doing the Pirates cover, doing Up the Hill, which is an original from Chris, doing a lot of the trad stuff, it was finally about getting the technical kind of abilities to put the live pub band onto tape and to make them actually, translate. Because a lot of times it's really hard, especially in the early 90s, late 80s, to take a live band and make them sound how they sound.
It's vastly more polished these days. Vastly more polished. And I think that, I'll say it again, that what we were when we made that record is completely different than what we are today, simply because of the change of members, and Jason and Shannon joined us and taught us a whole bunch of different tricks, and made us much better along the way. And so, we still play those. We still play some of those songs. Of course, we play them. We have to. People love them. So, of course, who wouldn't play a song that when you play it, people cheer? You'd be a fool not to. So, you'd be a fool not to play the song that people are going to scream for you.
Yeah, so what's really cool about this band is that even after all these years, their core fans are still coming out in droves and still really excited to hear the music. And they still freak out at the same songs. It's quite hilarious. Arms in the air. Wow!
We all have other things that we do, on top of, outside of Captain Tractor, but when we all get together as Captain Tractor, that is the best time ever. Music has changed so much. When we were, right up until like 10, 15 years ago, we were able to put gas in our van by selling CDs. And now you can't make any money off your music, really. It's all got to be live performances. But there is no venues, there's less venues. So it's a crazy, crazy business to be in, even more crazier than it used to be. But as far as we go, we just we still love doing what we're doing, and we still like each other. And like I said, it's like a Christmas gathering when we get together to rehearse or whatever. It's really fun. And that is really the most important thing to us. All this other stuff is like, yeah, we'll do a TikTok, we'll do everything that we're supposed to do. But really, it's just about us getting together and playing music.
Yeah, this isn't a band that broke on TikTok. That's next. That's the future for Captain Tractor. You know, the word community is really well used nowadays, but back then it wasn't really, didn't really have the same context, but that's what it was. It was a community of young people who just really liked to have a good time, and you know, the music was really warm. The guys in the band were really entertaining and you know, not like super cool. Like you felt like you could be part of that club. And so that's what I feel like the community of the artists and the fans really gelled. Everybody felt a part of it.
It's like, oh, well, these guys, they peaked, they did their thing. It's like, no, they're still going, and the band actually is better than it ever was. Shannon Johnson playing fiddle. Wow! You know, and we've had Cam Neufeld come in. They're monster players. When you get a band that's running on all 10 cylinders, it's a powerhouse. It's like candy. It's a dopamine hit after dopamine hit for the players and for the crowd.
I have a theory. I have a theory about artists. They go through what I call the 40s slump. And it's like when they're not new and not exciting and they have young families and lots of other sort of stressors, and it really seems like even Johnny Cash got dropped from his record label in his 40s. And if you can make it through your 40 slump, you can have a renaissance in your 50s. And so I think that is where Captain Tractor is now with this 30th anniversary of East of Edson, is that they are in a renaissance.
Okay, well, it's 1995 and it's now 2023, so it's 28 years.
For the 28-year anniversary.
And so by the time this thing comes out, it's going to be pretty close to 30.